Alright, well, here we go. What's this? Oh yeah, that's right. This was that. So, I gotta give a bit of a pause right before starting because for some reason streams like to get cut off right at the start. So, I figured while I'm writing the script for Artag Rise and the demo, before I can actually proceed with finalizing the demo, I am going to work on this game, which is Dream Temple, which is another one of my half-finished games, or at least it was sort of finished when I made it because it was a mini game. But I do kind of want to bring it up to something more of a sellable product, so to speak. Am I blown out? Nah, that's just webcam. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm gonna make a multi-stage level system instead of just having this one level that just kind of randomizes and creates itself. And I'm going to add a tiny story. I'd like to have a character in this game that can talk to the player, and he's going to kind of he's going to emphasize or put some contrast towards this game being in the middle of kind of nowhere, so to speak. So, I think what I should really start with is concept artwork, because with concept artwork comes clarity. Now, $1280 by 720, maybe, sure. Make it a widescreen thing, and all right. So nothing fancy, no coloring, just sketches. I need to essentially look into. Let's see, what do I need to look into? Ages of architecture. Top 10 ages of architecture. That sounds like a swell place to start. Neolithic architecture. Okay. Ancient Mediterranean architecture. Islamic architecture. Africa, really? Interesting. Asia, pre-Columbian. So Mayan? Yep. Aztec, Mayan. Hey, Jenko. I swear to God, this is coincidence. I was on YouTube. As in the coincidence that you dropped by this live stream. Ancient North. Not much. Artag Rise is kind of at a bit of a standstill right now until I can figure out the script. At least the script for the demo. Because it's pretty much done. The only thing that's really left for that game are things that depend on the script. Like, there's this one level where the floor collapses, right? But it collapses according to a story. And if you're playing arcade mode, it doesn't, right? You just proceed to the next level. There's things that don't become available to the players until they talk to the main character at some point. And I just realized, I think the chat, it's a little hard to see the chat. Maybe I should edit that just a little bit. I'm going to be modeling old buildings and like pieces of architecture. So while I'm figuring out the script for Artec Rise, I didn't want to have programming kind of sit stale and not progress with anything. So just to keep the ball rolling with the programming stuff, I'm gonna work on the Dream Temple game in App Game Kit. There's realistically not a super huge number of things that still needs to be added, but I'm gonna have to change quite a few things here. I'm gonna need to add an animated character. I'm gonna need to add different stages to these levels, and this is why I'm kind of researching different architectural styles. So this is the game that I was sort of looking back into those few weeks ago. The Dream Temple game. It's a fun game, I have to say, but it's just well, I don't want to use GMS because it's actually, it would take a lot longer to make in GMS than it would in App Game Kit, because App Game Kit is already optimized for 3D game development, and plus I already have, I'd say, half of this game made in App Game Kit anyways. So there's no sense in switching to Game Maker Studio for this. Unfortunately, Game Maker is not an end-all and be-all engine. There are better solutions. So, I don't mind the 3D stuff in Game Maker. It's mostly, I do want to figure out how to do Bone and IK stuff. I did ask the question on the forum, and Mishmash answered, but he answered with basically suggesting to use his extension, which is kind of like a, wow, I reached the top really quickly. Holy shit. Anyways. I don't want to use his proprietary engine. I don't have anything against it, but it's just using his engine usually means that I won't understand how it works. I would much rather like to actually know how to bind the bones to the vertices, which apparently you have to use a shader in order to do that, and you'd have to load in the bone animations as states, and you have to interpolate between different states. Like if there's a arm forward and arm backward, you interpolate between those two in order to animate them. That's basically what I've gathered from what he posted and what I've looked into other tutorials. But he goes into like data structures. Not data structures, whatchamacallit. He goes into some quirky stuff. Let's see. No. Here we go. Here, he says somewhere around here. The skeleton represents the tree of transformations. Each bone has its own ID, so this kind of makes sense. The root and a root bone ID, except the root bone which subsequent bones come out of. Right. transformation is done root outward, so that makes sense. Generally, it's easy to treat each bone as a matrix, right? And this is basically where he goes into explaining. So I have to kind of wrap my head around it. Yeah. Oh well. For now, I kind of want to start with concept art for this project. So, the first things first. Stages. I need some stages. Let me open up the Google Drive so that I can organize my stuff, my projects. Let's see. Scripts. New folder. Dream Temple. New doc. Okay, here we go. Dream Temple. Scripts. Game. Gotta study for that exam tomorrow. What kind of an exam is it? What are you being examined on? Game. Okay, so there's gonna be a few stages. To be honest, for the most part, I think if I learn the IK stuff with GameMaker Studio, I would be pretty much set for the most part. If not figuring out things like normal textures in the shader or normal shader for environments. Realistically, like specular and normal maps is everything that you really need to make the basic thing. Oh yeah, another reason why I'm going with App GameKit instead of GameMaker Studio is because App GameKit has a built-in lighting, like real-time lighting system. As in, like, you don't have to write a shader to do it. It does it for you, right? So it's much closer to Unreal Engine with it handling the lighting stuff for you than this other stuff, than the other engines. So anyways, that's kind of why I'm also using, because I need those shadows. And not like the basic shadows that you get from the lighting where one side is lit, the other side is dark. I mean actual shadows. And collisions, yes. With collisions in GameMaker Studio, there are ways you can go around it. And there's one thing that I kind of want to experiment on. And publish it maybe on my Patreon as a thing. Well, why not use Unreal Engine 4 then? Because I already have most of this game written here, and I have been debating on using Unreal Engine for this. It's just that, you know, I kind of want to try it in App GameKit, because if I make a good App GameKit, then that just more promotional stuff for the game creators, TGC community, which is, you know, they made this thing, the game creators, the UK company. let's be real here. What gameplay have I made here? For the most part, collision stuff and a basic platformer. I mean, the same can be said about the the Vertex, the whatchamacallit, the old school PS1 game. Well, why don't I make that in Unreal Engine 2 instead of doing Game Maker Studio, right? Unreal Engine 4 already has character controller that does all this. I'd have to modify it heavily because there are things like you can actually stick to objects instead of falling off. You don't have to be on top, like flat on top of the object in order to you know, stick to it. You can actually grab onto it automatically in this game just because of the way the collisions are being handled here. Plus, I mean, look at this. Most of this stuff I'd hate to just toss out, just because App Game Kit is an engine that I can use. And it is an engine that I paid for, and it is a good engine. And it's most of the work has already been done here. The rest is literally just spawning objects. That's all there is to it. Besides like triggering audio stuff for voiceovers. We'll be pushing GMS, not just stacking functions next to each other. Right. But I don't want... Okay. With that game, I don't want to make it just to push to see what Game Maker Studio is capable of, right? With that game, it would be more of a learning experience for me because I will learn how to do that stuff in Game Maker Studio, right? Just because then the end result for me is not going to be just a game. It's going to be also me knowing about Game Maker Studio more, right? I already know how to do this stuff in Unreal Engine. So if I were to simply work on a project just to make a project, then yes. But in this case, if I make this an App Game Kit, I will actually learn more about App Game Kit because I'm about to address things like real-time lighting, something that this engine did not have before. You'd have to do it in a shader, but now it offers it natively, in which is something that Game Maker Studio does not, as far as I can tell from the demos that the game creator TGC has posted. Anyways, let's see. So this is all made in code. So I have a randomized function. One thing is this is actually made in BASIC, but there is a tier 2 mode here that you can write this in C++, but I think I need to install Visual Studio for it. iOS, HTML5. This is really cool. It provides HTML5 export natively, where with GameMaker I have to buy that module, and I don't have it for Studio 2. Reload as Unicode. GMS has real-time lighting. GMS has GPU lighting. Very basic. The lighting type that this engine also has. What I'm talking about is shadow casting. GameMaker does not have shadow casting. You have to make a shader for that to work. In this case, this engine offers that natively without like a whole lot of programming. I'm not talking about lighting, real-time lighting, as in this side of the object is lit, this side of the object is dark, right? I'm talking about if you have a cylinder and you look inside of a cylinder, you can actually, like, when you look at the opening of the cylinder from the inside, you can actually see the shadow of one side of the cylinder being cast on the inside of another side of the cylinder, right? But that's not the case with GameMaker Studio natively, because when you have a cylinder, it will actually treat the inside vertices as also being lit, because those vertices or those faces are just facing the direct sunlight point, right? So it's not the lighting that I'm, excited about with this engine. It's the shadows that are already built in. I mean, the only thing that really keeps this engine being away up to par from GameMaker Studio is honestly just the level editor. For the most part, everything else is pretty much handled in here. Does App Game Kit have PBR or GI? Please explain what those are. Because I have no idea what those are, even in contrast with GameMaker. Okay, so, right, diving into code would probably be a little too early. So, app game kit, get camera view, camera view vector. Physically based rendering global illumination. Global illumination, yes. I have no idea what physically based rendering is. Convert. Camera rotation angles from up-down vector. PBR refers to a new shader material which is meant to be more realistically supported, up to 10 textures for multiple aspects of a material. I have no idea if it does. Physically based rendering. Let's see. PBR support. What do I have here? Realize the 3D portion of the game is a bit underdeveloped. Yes, App Game Kit. Plans include support physically based rendering. It's really a question answered by Paul. Okay, Rick, developer. PBR is something we do want to link into moving towards. It's not an immediate focus for us. This was in 2015. So, they have addressed it. Diffuse height, normal specular occlusion, tessellation, metallic. Oh, okay, that's what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure they have either their own alternative to that, or they have something in place, because people have made nice looking games in App Game Kit, like 3D games. Anyways. Right, well, I know what you're talking about, because Unreal Engine has those exact nodes in the material editor. So that pretty much, answers that question. Anyways. So. Where is this thing? It's just meant to be realistic. Well, if you're going for realism, I'm sure you're not going to be using App Game Kit or Game Maker Studio, right? You gotta pick your battles there. Okay, so level. Prison. Graveyard. Prison and catacomb. Graveyard. Alright, see you next time. The city. The slums. I kind of want to go for... Oh, man. I kind of want to go for this... this whatchamacallit. Prison, catacombs, graveyard, the slums. I don't know if I typed the slums properly. Hold on. Define slums. Overcrowded urban street. Okay. Sounds about right. Let's see. So the slums. After that, we would have... So I don't really feel like I should really be going through a whole lot of different architectural styles. Right now it's all very Roman, if you can call it that for now. Let's see. Prison, catacomb, graveyard, the slums. City of the Damned. It's very generic. But... Oh yeah, and I totally forgot to live stream, to post the live streams on. Highest. Yes, I'm alive. Haven't been live streaming too much. Been busy with writing the script for, well, you know, for the demo. And I'm doing something different right now for live streaming. I kind of want to keep doing programming, just, you know, keep that ball rolling. But I'm going to be working on one of my games that has been sort of completed once. I did publish it once before, but I feel like it just has a bit more potential than I give it credit for. And it gives me an opportunity to kind of learn app game kit a little bit more. But I need to start with the concept art here. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of reworking this game here, which is called Dream Temple. I'm sure you've seen this before. One thing you gotta fix is not being able to walk through the damn it. Not being able to walk through these pillars. Damn it. No, this is App Game Kit. This is another fine game engine. Another great addition to a collection of a game developer. So, anyways, this is supposed to be just a regular platformer. I've seen a lot of people live streaming this weird game where they're trying to climb a never-ending pile of garbage with a guy inside of like a brewing pan or brewing pot with a pickaxe or something. He's trying to climb over it. It's a funny game, but it's, you know, I made this game maybe 2 years ago, and it was just a tiny little project. And seeing how this sort of a game style is still popular when promoted right, it could have potential. But in this case, I kind of want to add a tiny story to it. Just a little character that could narrate and keep the player company. Anyways, I'm starting with concept art though. Let's not get lost on this. So the first area, the prison, catacombs, then the graveyard, then the slums. And after the slums, we need City of Hollows. The basic idea of this story is that you wake up in a prison catacomb that's basically suspended in this parallel dimension, and essentially there's this NPC, which is just a skull that talks to you. He explains that this is some sort of another world, just a weird purgatory where only the select few appear after they die. And he says you have a limited amount of time to get to essentially get to the gates of Ether. These are the gates that only open once every 500 years, and you just happen to die at the right time, so to speak. He says, and he asks if you could help him get there. And he has this whole story where he got into this purgatory himself some odd like 500,000 years ago, and there's a legend that says that the gates of Ether is not the end of your travels. If you keep going up past the gates, there's supposed to be some sort of a reward for the travels, for your hardship, some sort of a treasure. And he says you can keep going, but the problem is that the gates will close and your physical body slowly decays to the point where it's nothing but your soul stuck inside of a skeleton, and you can't move. In that case, you're just basically stuck in this eternal purgatory. And the skeleton, the character, made the mistake of daring to continue his travel instead of entering the gates of Ether. and he failed. He paid the price, and he essentially got stuck. And he asked the player to help him get to the top, to the gates this time, so that he could, just a little favor, help him move on. So I need to now make the level map. Sorry, I've been gone for the past 5 minutes. All that 5 minutes that I've been explaining what this game was about. Yay. City of Hollows. Prison, catacomb, graveyard, the slums. All right. After the slums. Prison, catacombs, graveyard. Hold on, let me look something up. Trying to look in some of the Greek mythology. I don't want this to be too Greek. I want to have just a few hints, mostly via names, but I don't want to have too much to do with like, I don't want to go heavy into the Greek mythology with this stuff. It's too much work. Maybe another game that would actually demand to be narration heavy, or backstory rich, so to speak. Who knows? Maybe on my time off. Graveyards. Let's see. After the graveyard, I kind of want to do a garden level. Maybe so there is a Greek hero named Odysseus, leader of the Trojan War. And I'm guessing that the word Odyssey has derived from his name, considering that it says Greek leader in the Trojan War who after a war wanders 10 years before reaching home. So Odyssey, Odysseus. Maybe I'm just, making connections where there are none, or maybe that's exactly where the word derived from. Let's see. See, the thing is, I don't want to attach any names because I wanted to do something like Odysseus Garden, but I do not want to attach any specific names to these locations, right? The architectural style is probably the only thing that I want to borrow for this particular game, but once again, I don't want it to be all Greek. Let's see. Greek architecture. Yeah, see, I'm looking at the stuff and all I see is pillars. Pillars, 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 pillars. Pillars, 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 pillars. It's like there's nothing else to this architecture other than pillars. So the Greek architecture. And I'm sure there's a mythological explanation to this. But there simply has to be more to this style than just like I probably want to do something like a Victorian architecture. Like, what is the yeah, this is probably what I want to use in terms of interior and exterior. But Victorian architecture also uses pillars in some very specific cases. So none of that stuff. And I don't need to be designing entire buildings either. All I need are other things. All I need are segments. Now I do feel like I should add some backstory. Backstory to the world. The backstory that would be only discoverable via notes and descriptions of loots and tabloids and stuff. Nothing that's actually told in the story. Kind of like with the Dark Souls. Most of the lore in Dark Souls is actually told via the description of the items and some comments of NPCs, just, you know, their opinions, remarks, and whatnot. Oh boy. Okay, so Victorian church interior. Not even a church, even maybe. Here we go. I like these arches. Okay. So what I want brush tool. Okay, that's the problem. My tablet is being stretched across 2 monitors. Let's not do that. I just need monitor 1. I need to get 1 second. I need to get a wet towel and kind of wipe the tablet for a second, so just give me a sec. I'll also go ahead and grab some coffee, because I'll need some. I'll explain why later. Be right back. All right, so as a part of my attempt to diet, I use coffee, no sugar, no nothing, just to deter hunger. So I am hoping to lose some weight that way. Not that I haven't tried this before. Many times I have tried this before, and the same many times I have failed. Okay, so maybe I should put some music on. Probably be a good idea. Yeah, let's listen to something from the upcoming album. Reel to Reel. Yellow Circle, sure. So, how's everybody doing? I should actually really make a database. Database of the architectural images. Dream Temple, concept art research. So many yellow vehicles. A lot of these things are just Victorian standalone homes. I'm more interested in the city, the city architecture. Guess the sonnet was based on Victorian architecture. It's kind of shouldn't really be surprising. Oh god. That's actually pretty cool. This one's kind of modern looking. To kind of organize this stuff right now. Exterior. Okay. Victorian church. Interior. In fact, it's not even the church that I need, more like a cathedral. Something like this save image as. Church is too small. And I misspelled it. For God's sakes. That a game? Yes, I think so, yeah. See, here are the pylons. Oh. This is interesting. Man, this is some complex geometry. Hey, hey, hey. Doesn't this look familiar? It almost looks alien. Really interesting. Okay, so the pit is going to start. I'm not sure if it should start circular. Maybe it should start as a hall, sort of like a church. So, Hyas, what have you been up to? Oh man, I can't help but make focal points, or vanishing points I should say. It just helps. Whew, okay. My coffee. Should really order some more pen tips. This one's kind of starting to go.